How's everybody doing? What's going on today, guys?
I'm doing pretty good today. Can't really complain. Beautiful weather outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sun always brings good energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vitamin D.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna start introducing everyone from Kristen over. We got Chris. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris or Kristen. I am a visual artist, a yoga mentor, a business owner, and a teacher. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. Okay, Crystal.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm a yoga instructor, founder of Lulu Yoga. Most known for my lifted classes, also for my Vinyasa Yoga in the Park.
Okay.
And I am happy to be here.
Okay, Christian.
Hey everyone, I am Christian and I own Gracefully Fulfilled Counseling and Coaching Services. I work for the government, I'm a change agent, and I also have a consulting firm. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Okay, Ice, it's you.
Okay, so my name is Ice or Isaac, whichever one. Like, it doesn't really matter, but a lot of people know me as Ice. So what I do is I don't want to say all over the place, but I dibble and dabble in a lot of different things. I make a lip exfoliation scrub, a facial exfoliation scrub, lip balm. I just recently, a few months ago, started doing a health blog. And outside of my business, I work at a adult GED learning facility, helping adults get their GED. So, yeah, I guess I'm a little bit all over the board.
Your lip balm products and how it relates to wellness.
Yeah. Okay. So, my lip balm, I just never really, and I hope that I don't get in trouble for saying this, but I never really liked chapstick. Like, it never did the job. It never did the job for me. I just always thought something was wrong with it because I'm like, I know I just put it on 5 minutes ago, and I feel nothing.
Yeah.
And so I started doing my own research a few years ago, and I learned that beeswax is a really healthy alternative to use for lip balm.
Okay.
It's very good for your skin. It actually hydrates your skin. So chapstick doesn't really hydrate, as I found out when I got older.
What does chapstick do?
So chapstick just puts essentially just a layer over your lip that doesn't really hydrate anything. It doesn't have any hydration in it. It's just like if your lip is already wet, like say you put some water on your lips and then you put some chapstick on, your lips will be a little bit moisturized because there's moisture already there. But the chapstick itself is not creating its own hydration to feed into your skin how it should. So what you want is something like beeswax because it feeds your skin moisture while at the same time locking in that moisture too. So you feel your lips feel a lot better for a lot longer.
So this was a different journey for you then?
Yeah, everything really kind of started off more personal, and then like friends started liking things, and I just like give it a try.
How's the community been towards you since you started selling the lip balm?
It has been amazing. The support that I have gotten is crazy. Like, I get orders from all over the place. It's just a lot bigger than I really had envisioned it being, and I'm really just so grateful for that, and I'm excited to really see where I go in the future. Because things are just getting better and better, like, by the day, and I'm getting better. And people are really noticing, like, in my products that, you know, I'm really sort of getting to, you can never get something perfect, I don't think, but I'm getting better and better and better and better.
Okay. Shout out to you.
Thank you. So just steadily working, researching, reading more, trying to figure out like what's next, what's the best thing to do next, and just making my moves more calculated than rushed.
Okay. Christian, tell us about the life of a therapist.
Ooh. One, I'm just gonna say I loved it. Like I was feeling all the energy. So a life of a therapist. I love what I do. I think that therapy is needed. I'm so happy that more people are into therapy and want to go and process their thoughts. Therapy is not just about talking about feelings and emotions or things when things are bad. Like I tell my clients all the time, come to me when things are good because I'm the best cheerleader. I used to be a cheerleader my whole life. I'm going to praise you. We're going to talk about the good stuff. But I just love being a therapist. I love being able to help individuals navigate life. I think that life is hard already. You know, us as Black individuals, us who are operating in, you know, in these intersections and having to navigate the isms and things like that. I just think that it's hard, and sometimes you need somebody to help, like, allow you to vent, process, allow you to like we just did at the beginning, which I love, is like meditating and kind of clear those thoughts, because our minds, they say we think 60% of the time something negative, and so like trying to control and manage the mind to be more positive and evolve and give yourself grace. So that's why my private practice is Gracefully Fulfilled, because
That's the name?
yes, that's the name. And I believe that, you know, you have to give yourself grace but some room for error, because we are not perfect. Life is ever changing and evolving. So I just love like being able to be there for my clients. During this pandemic, it was like extremely hard, and lives were like impacted, whether it was anxiety, depression, you know, like picking up negative habits because you're not able to be distracted by the outside world and what you usually do, your usual routine. So it was great helping people come up with some different routines and a new normal during this past year.
How was the world prior COVID and after COVID in terms of being a therapist and your clientele?
Ooh, I think that you see more anxiety. Anxiety, depression has always been there. I try to tell people, one, I'm not the normal therapist. I love the DSM, but I am not about to like diagnose you. I will, if I didn't have to do insurance and get a reimbursement, I probably won't give you a diagnosis at all, unless it's like severe mental health disorder. But prior, I mean, I think that, you know, those underlying issues are always there. The pandemic actually exacerbated everything.
Okay, could you define exacerbate for anybody who doesn't know?
Increased, I would say just increased like those triggers that you were going through, and just made it more tension. You felt it more. People couldn't run outside and go get drinks or smoke. Or, I mean, you probably could, but like a lot of people, their outlets are going to happy hour, especially the DC culture, right? Yeah. Happy hour is a thing for us all. Going out with friends, doing game nights, all of that was like a thing. And in the pandemic, you couldn't do that because people were at home. So a lot of people sat with their emotions, and I don't think that we were prepared for that.
Would you say it was the sunken place for a lot of folks?
Ooh, yes, but it was always also an awakening for a lot of folks. I feel like the Black community did some amazing things during this pandemic. You learned more about yourself. You did a lot of research. You got into investing. Like, you know, you started to get into different certifications. Like, you just saw a lot of people like really dive into new things that they probably always wanted to do, but was so distracted by the world that they never did.
Okay. Yeah. Crystal, let us know about you, yoga and wellness.
Me, yoga and wellness. Yoga is kind of where I figured out that I needed more wellness.
Okay.
For me, when it was one of the first times I was just able to, I consciously stopped. It was like, stop. No, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to stop. We're going to breathe. We're going to move, and we're not going to think about any of those other things. And then you find this space within yourself where you're like, oh, that's great. Now I need to learn more about that. So, you know, you start going through these different meditations, and you experience different feelings in these different postures, and you're like, okay, wait, this is great. This is helpful. Let me go show my friend. So you show your friend, and your friend's like, that's amazing. You're like, yeah, tell your friend, we're going to heal together. You know, we're all going to do, you know, use these moments. And I get so many students, it's like, you know, I can't remember the last time I just stopped and breathed. Like, I don't breathe well. I don't breathe often. And so I think that is where a lot of self-awareness comes from, where you get rid of all of your to-do list and your things you want to do and gonna do, and you kind of just sit with yourself and where you are in the moment and try to figure out how to manage that space so that when you do have those triggers that Christian was talking about, you find time to stop, take a moment to yourself, and kind of identify what's going on and what you may need.
Okay. What made you want to bring weed into that space? Well, one wellness into the other, I think would be the better way to ask.
Weed has always been in my space.
That's
But it kind of, I began doing weed and yoga at the same time, I think, when I went through like teacher training.
Okay.
Because I figured out that it kind of lessened my nerves walking into a space with everyone who don't look like you or talk like you or maybe even want you there, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So it kind of brought my nerves down and, you know, leveled my energy out to where I can go in like, okay, it doesn't matter what's going on in here. Here I am. And then when I introduced it to my students, they noticed that it helped with their meditation.
Okay.
They were able to dive a little deeper into themselves without my coaching. They were able to move more freely without being, I don't know, afraid of like falling on your face or something, you know. So it kind of just was an added component that everyone was already interested in. It just became a way to open the door to introduce them to yoga. So putting them together just brought yoga to people who would have never even thought about trying it.
Were you the first within your yoga community to introduce that aspect together?
As far as I know, I know there are a lot of classes now, so I'm not sure exactly when they started. But as far as I am aware of, yes.
Okay. You know, okay. All right, so Chris, your unique experience, because I got to see you get deeper into yoga and combine that with art. Let us know about that within like the community.
So one of the things that I like to do is host an art and yoga class, and we put it together. So we'll do some yoga moves, and then we'll do some art, and then we'll go back to yoga and do some art. And the way I do the art is we use anything that we have. So if you got printer paper, if you've got pencils, crayons, if you've got paint, we can work with it all, and we can make a creation while we let our guards down and expose ourselves. And usually people, since it's been COVID, people turn their camera off so they don't have to worry about those anxieties. And they really like fall into it, and then they turn their camera back on, and then they've got this amazing creation. Or they tell me about some moves they were able to do or not do and how excited they were to try. So it's been a lot of fun.
Has that been unique, watching people be excited to fail and pick themselves back up and like recreate what they thought they were afraid of?
So a major thing that's happened with being at home is people are behind closed doors and trying new things, and not as, I don't think they are as nervous about it because it's no one's watching them. And people still want to connect. So being at home and being online and telling people, hey, I'm doing yoga today, but you know, it's no big deal. It's kind of like a flirty thing, and it's been a great experience to watch people really open up within their homes, within themselves. Because I didn't really get started with this until COVID started, exposing myself in that I like yoga. Do you guys like yoga? Do you want to try with me? We can do it together, and fail together. Because I have fallen on camera, and we just keep going.
Yes.
So,
You've had a lot of shea butter. You've done a great job.
thank you. I try my best.
Yes.
Those falls be serious.
Yeah. And then you just say, no, it's okay. You guys.
A faint clap of thunder, even if rain comes not. Stay here.
I'm good.
Okay, so for everybody in the room, how do you apply what you guys specialize in right now to the Black experience?
Try to target specific demographics for specific things. But one thing I very much like to do is expose Black people to things that they haven't seen before. So a lot of Black people have never tried yoga, and just say, okay, well, let's try one move. Let's just try 3 moves, just 3 moves right now. Well, 5, and just exposing them slowly has been a lot of fun. But also exposing people to other businesses in the area while we do yoga. So I'd like to tell people about ICE's business, because I know that they want to do yoga, they might want to smoke, they want a lip balm that's going to lighten their lips afterwards or soothe their lips. So now I'm going to do some yoga with you, and I'm going to give you this lip balm, and then I'm going to give you the flyer, and just continuing that connection, because we do want to support each other and connect.
Okay. Okay. Shout out to Ice with the natural products.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Okay. Ice, put.
So I would say I try to increase the comfort level of Black men with like it being okay to take care of yourself. And
okay. Tell me more about that.
Self-care, skincare, it's all cool. Like, it's cool to do yoga, it's cool to wash your face, it's cool to do more than just wake up in the morning and put water on your face. You can put a cleanser on, put a tone, you can put a tone, you can put a toner on, put some moisturizer on, treat your skin nice, like, and like it'll be noticed, it'll be appreciated by people too. And you'll appreciate it more too. Like when you look at yourself every day, you say, wow, like my skin looks good today. Like I'm drinking my water, I'm doing my cleansing.
Black boy joy.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that I guess there's like a big stigma in the world overall about like men with not being in what I guess people perceive as vulnerable spaces or feminine spaces sometimes. And I think that it's important to not categorize things like self-care as feminine and things like that, like some people tend to do. It's for everybody. Like everybody needs self-care. Everybody needs to hydrate, moisturize, exfoliate, cleanse.
That's what your self-care looks like?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your routine.
I am the guy who, when my girlfriend wants to go to get her nails and feet done, I want to go too. Yeah, it's very relaxing. They have massaging chairs in there. Like it's a great time. Like I
with the bag in it. I feel you.
Important.
I don't understand why anybody in their right mind wouldn't want to do something like that to relax after a long week. Your feet hurt. It's nice to get spa treatments. It's nice to get a massage. Like if you've never gotten a massage before and you are in your 20s, you desperately need a massage. Like your back has gone through some things in your life, I promise you, and you need to help your body release and cleanse, and your skin has dead skin cells on it, so you have to cleanse your skin. Like you have to wash your face, you have to wash your body, and wash your hair and things like that, just to keep your body optimal.
Okay. Have you ever found that you get lost in the process of taking care of yourself? Like you have a day that's supposed to be 5 minutes and 15 minutes.
Oh
later,
yeah,
you're like, man, I feel good, but 15.
So actually, I recently started doing a thing for myself where, and it varies because some days I actually do have something that I really need to do. But now I'm trying to put my phone on Do Not Disturb for an entire day, one day out of the week. And how people feel about it is not my concern nor problem. The world will not blow up without my presence in it. The world does not revolve around me. Please don't try to revolve the world around me. I don't want to always be the person that people go to, even though I do appreciate being that person. I got to take some time back for myself, because if you try to pour a nice glass of wine from a nice empty bottle, a nice nothing is going to come out. So yeah, I got to refill my wine bottle and relax.
Okay, bottle. Okay, Christian, you next.
I like all of this because this is all therapy. Self-care is extremely important, but for me in the Black community, I mean, becoming a therapist was extremely personal. I had a traumatic event that happened 15 years ago, and I had to process it for myself, and so I know what PTSD looks like for us, and I think that trauma is it's on a spectrum, right? And so we all experience trauma in some aspects, especially I'm not even going to just say Black community, because I also think all of us are Black, but that's a whole nother topic. But I'm going to say the marginalized community, the oppressed community, those who do not have a voice in such a systemic world. I try to just make sure that like I am advocating and speaking for those, researching and connecting them to people like this. Like, I have a community of like therapists, and we've worked together many a times, you. So,
and I've learned so much from you.
Thank you. And so I'm always trying to connect the dots. I think that, I'm not from DC, but I'm from California, but there's a Black community everywhere you go. And there's a Black community who needs Black people to advocate for them. So whether I'm in California, my hometown, or here in Ward 8 or Ward 7, I'm going to make sure we are connected and changing the culture in the community every day.
Okay, so I noticed at the beginning of the conversation on your part, you said this is therapy. How do you define therapy?
Ooh, so therapy is whatever you want to do. Therapy is self-care. Therapy is putting your phone on Do Not Disturb. Therapy is saying, I need to go do yoga. I mean, I honestly tell my clients all the time, let's practice yoga, let's meditate. We do that in our practice. I'm always advocating for being intentional with self-care. So self-care is whatever you want to do. Therapy is whatever you want to do. If you want to come into the session and say, I just want to take an hour and just be quiet, I'll sit there and be quiet with you. I'll say I'm going to play a little music in the background. Does that help? Or if you want to come and cry, let's do that. If you need to come and just let's write down everything that's going on, or let's write a letter to your father who, abandoned you and you're still trying to process those feelings, then we're going to do that too. Or we need to go out and take a jog together. That's it. I think that there's a really good book, and I'm sure you two will love it, because it's The Art of Communication, right? And I love The Art of Communication because I think that a lot of us, we struggle with communicating with one another, but it's all about spending time with self first. Right? You gotta understand who you are in order for you to understand somebody else. And you gotta understand your suffering to understand how to, work with somebody else in their suffering. So to me, that is all self-care. That's all therapy. That's all being intentional about your day and who you are and how you impact the world.
Okay. What would you say to someone who says, I'd like to do things that are therapeutic, but therapy isn't for me?
That's your prerogative, and I'm understanding of that. If you try a session with me once, then let's go from there and figure it out. And we can, I call myself a psychotherapist, right? There's social workers, counselors, or psychologists and all that, but being a psychotherapist, my goal is to tailor your sessions to your needs. And so I'm going to throw everything out. And I also hear this a lot, I don't want to just talk about my feelings. Well, let's not talk about your feelings. Let's talk about how we can get to step 1 to step 2. I am here to help you plan out your life, your goals, whatever you need, I will be that for you. And that is what a therapist should be. Because when you take the DSM out, that is therapy.
What's the DSM? You've dropped it 3 times.
Oh, and I hate the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, I believe it is. But basically, it has all of the B codes and disorders, diagnosis that us therapists have to go by. It actually tells you you have to meet 5 out of the 8 criteria in order to be bipolar. Okay. A lot of people try to diagnose themselves with things, and it's no, you're really not that. Like, everybody has a little bit of something going on. We all deal with anxiety. We all deal with depression. We all deal with, mood disorders. Like, we're all triggered, but it's when it's impacting your livelihood, your functionality, your day-to-day operations, that's when it's a diagnosis. Other than that, we're just all trying to manage.
Yeah.
Crystal, it's you.
I like what she said a lot about communication. I feel like in my classes is one of the first times that a lot of my students communicate with themselves. They find that mind-body connection that they may not have connected before. They realize that with a clear mind, I can perform better. I see clearer. And then you can use that kind of thing to take messages from yoga, like if we're in crow pose and I say, well, if you look forward, you'll go forward. If you look down, you're going to fall on your face. And they're like, damn, if I look down, I'm going to fall on my face. Like, yeah, everywhere. Like, not just in this pose, but that is how life works. So it's just little things like that that I think bring people into it and make them stay with it, because once they find that mind-body connection, they're like, okay, well, I got a little more work to do here now, because I didn't even know this was a thing, and now that it is, I can begin to work on it. And Chris, you probably can attest to this, certain postures that you may enter into will make you feel certain things, and these certain things that you feel are sometimes uncomfortable, and I've had students just stop and just start crying, and I'm like, oh, it's fine, just take a rest, hang out, you can keep moving if you want, like, don't let your tears get in the way of your class.
So you allow them to be in their moment.
Absolutely. That's what the entire class is about. Everyone is in their moment. That's why some people are standing with their ankle above their head, and some people are in child's pose, just composing themselves. So it's all about how you feel and what's going to make your moment better. And I try to give tools for them to take that outside of the studio, off of the mat. To find these tools, like I said, if you have road rage and you give a nice deep breath or a long scream, and you're no longer wanting to run them over with your car. So it's just a lot of like she said, communicating with yourself, finding that mind-body connection. If my chest hurts, finding out why. Is it because I'm tense because I have something to do that I haven't done, or is it because I need to rest? Is it because I need to go get checked out? Like, what is triggering this moment? Was there something that just happened that made me feel this way, or have I been feeling this way for quite some time? So it just gives you the opportunity to check in with yourself without outside influence. When people are in class and on the mat, they're moms, they're teachers, they're entrepreneurs, they're therapists, and this is probably one of the only moments they'll have to themselves that day, because then they have to go back, have to go to work, have to take care of the kids, have to deal with husband, wife, whatever. So they actually do value that 60 minutes to themselves. Like, this is for me, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not doing it for anyone else.
I'm glad at how you guys apply these applications within the language.
A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here, together with you.
Anyone else?
Okay. I'm glad at how you guys apply these applications within the work that you do. And what I find fascinating about what you said is, Kristen told me this before, when it comes to being a yogi, especially as an instructor, when it comes to yoga, you guys do yoga, but there's also, I forgot the word that you used in terms of how clients who attend your class view you guys. I think you guys are meant to lead in terms of people throughout their experience, which you touched on.
Yeah, I will. I tell them all the time, this is your class. I'm your guide, and this is yours. So if I'm saying something and you feel compelled to move a different way, go for it. Do your thing, and meet me in the middle when you're ready.
After that experience, do you guys have to do a release of your own? Like, let's say you were handed something heavy that a student went through as you guys went through a class. How do you guys deal with that on the back end for yourselves, if there is a back end?
There has to be a back end. or you can get overwhelmed. So
Okay.
yes, there has to be a release of your own. Generally, I go into Shavasana with them, and whatever I have absorbed throughout the class, I'm releasing with them at the end of class with all of, with everything that they're releasing. Because we set intentions at the beginning of class, and I have no idea what they are. But this is something that the student will take throughout their class and their motivation and why they're on the mat. So we'll all take that in and release that together.
Okay, that's beautiful. Not Crystal, Kristen.
So
Releases after.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
the question was, what's my therapy, or how do I do self-care?
Yeah, after the self-care that you've done for the group, how do you do self-care for yourself? Yes.
So I like to create. And that's something that you and I have been talking about lately.
Abandonment art.
Yes, I like to just make things, and I like to. So one piece about abandonment art is I will paint a random piece of wood that I find. It might be from my aunt's backyard, and I put something great on it, and then I might go outside and clean a space, and then I leave it there. And then I go back later, maybe an hour or two, and it's usually gone. And someone's taken it home. And I never know what happens to it. And I kind of just hope that it goes to a good place.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it is. I got good vibes on it. And that makes me really happy.
Yeah, that's your process.
It's my process. And I of course love to do my hair and wash my face with exfoliants and get my nails and my toes done. But just recently I have learned how much I like to make things and then look at the thing and then just have it. Just have it.
Yeah, here world, you can take this.
Yes. Or I can keep it for now and you guys will have it later. Something like that. Just being in control of those positive things that I can be.
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Just so we all know that this is all therapy, and the reason why I say that is because yoga is somatic therapy, and when you said when you feel pain in your body and you have to release it, that's actually like trauma, which trauma is stored in the body, right? And so Kundalini yoga and like things like that help you release that trauma. And art therapy, what you keep talking about, like, you know, how you make things, like that's just a tool of therapy that many therapists use to help people kind of release or even connect with like their old self or even like that wounded child and things like that. So like, I just wanted to say that because I know like people always think therapy is like on a couch and you're just talking to someone. Like, that's not it. Like, therapy is literally like anything that impacts the body in a positive way.
Yeah, I use that a lot too because I tell women, like, because they're like, oh, my hips, I'm like, because we hold all of our pain, our tension, our trauma in our hips. The men are like, oh, my shoulders, my neck. I'm like, yes, because you're holding everything up here. So getting that movement through your body and unlocking those places that you didn't know were locked is always going to be helpful because you're going to walk out of class literally standing taller than when you walked in.
Yeah, the gut stretch. Yeah. All right, Ice. I feel you've answered that question already, so let's talk about the broader application for what you've created when it comes to the skincare products and the community itself. I know you touched on men, but what is your intention when it comes to women who may use your products and their experience?
So, really, like, women have been, like, the number one supporters, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. One thing I can definitely say is women love skincare. They love skincare. They love to, like...
I use my lip scrub often.
Right.
One thing that I have definitely noticed is that women are definitely becoming more intentional about their self-care and how they want to take care of themselves. And honestly, I think that they are really far past most men when it comes to really sitting back and understanding your wants and the needs for...
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, even sometimes, like, when I'm with my girlfriend, like, I feel like when my phone rings, I have to, like, answer it. But like she'll just sit there and she'll just watch the phone ring if she doesn't feel like having that conversation in the moment. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be that she's doing something. Like she just doesn't feel like having that conversation in the moment. So I can say that women have been like #1 supporters, definitely, and hopefully it stays that way. And my goal is definitely always to get more men involved, because that's what's really lacking majorly. Like,
You know what you should do as a challenge?
what do you think?
When you go in Target, there's I wouldn't call it a self-care, but it's a lot of makeup products, Burt's Bees, in terms of chapstick.
Yeah.
Women are always in that section. It's like a rectangular section.
That is
Right
that is
Good lighting.
that is
It is good lighting. So like I've noticed the setup, it's better lighting than the rest of the store.
And they have a little
The
mirror
products
above the new
themselves.
Target.
that is like the
Yeah.
Bermuda Triangle of Target, like for women. Like they just go in there and then they
It's a
just
good
get
place.
lost. Like you have cosmetics everywhere.
You should take one of your friends,
You got
bro.
shampoo. You got conditioners.
Women love popping it open just to take a snuff. Good sample. Let me put this back. I'm like, okay, I've never thought to do that before, but when I see them do it, I was like, maybe I should
Maybe
do it.
that's-
No one's saying no, I might as well.
I think that's a good idea.
Take one of your guy
think
friends
that's a good
there
idea.
once a week just to like hang out in the section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
They got some
'Cause
nice
you just
mud
have to
mask
get.
over there.
Because I've really noticed that some guys really just haven't been around stuff like that. Like they haven't experienced that in their life. They just know Dove soap or whatever they've been using. They don't Irish Springs.
Spice.
God bless anybody who's using Irish Springs on a daily basis.
That's my travel soap.
Yeah.
Just in case they don't have
That's definitely a just in case. I brought it in the travel bag, like.
Yeah, that minty.
But on my day to day,
Yeah.
I need something a little bit softer than that.
Okay, so what's your favorite scented soap?
Ooh.
He got excited.
Oh wow. Okay, so I'm gonna say something that might not be what everyone wants to hear, but okay. So I was a huge fan of Dr. Bronner soap,
Okay. I
and
feel like they got a boost last year. That was a big topic on Twitter last year.
it just became over time just too abrasive for my skin. Like even when
It's very strong.
it's really strong. Like it smells good. Like their products are amazing. They smell so good, but it's just so intense, and I have really sensitive skin. So now I've moved on to using Method. They have this rose pink Himalayan salt and what's the other one?
Hydration.
Yeah.
I use that in my bag.
Yeah. So and I think it has one more ingredient in it. I think it's like peony or peony.
Can you say that one more time? Say it louder for the people.
It's
In case they wanna Google
okay.
it.
So actually,
Anyway,
peony.
Oh,
Okay.
everybody,
See,
all the whole
see,
couch, man,
see.
the whole couch.
You see how I'm.
We've heard of that one, yes.
So that I think has become my favorite right now. It smells really good. It's gentle. It lathers up really nice. It's just a great experience. And I think that is my favorite. Sometimes I'll use some bar soap and I'll rub some bar soap around my hands too, just to lather around my face. Like my favorite is like charcoal soap, because that helps definitely like help your skin breathe a bit more. And I have like oily skin, so I have to like make sure that I'm very intentional about like detoxifying my skin, because like that oil can definitely get your skin clogged up like a lot really fast.
Okay.
So I don't know, did that about
No, that was a great talk.
Man.
I just want to see what else.
I know. I'm like, I want to kind of add something on yours. Just the like the masculine, feminine. So I think because the men and women have been constructed or conditioned to think that men can only be masculine, women can only be feminine, when honestly we're all both. Like I am big on like embracing my masculine energy. Like my friends would be like, Christian, you're very masculine. I'm like, you're damn right. I am. But I am very feminine too. But I also think that men have to get comfortable with being feminine, right? Yeah. What the world say is what feminine is, you know. But that's where you get duality and like the yin and yang and the balance and everything else is like, we're both. We are. You can do whatever the hell you want to do, you know? And that's why we was like, you know, people are not going to be, nope, you're right. You're right on how you feel. It is very, like, strong for a lot of us, and you got to dilute that stuff a little bit.
I think the pronouns community actually does a great job of breaking that down in terms of the they,
I agree.
them, here.
Yeah.
They do a good job of, I think, us, in terms of the straight men community, we do okay, if they're pronouns, they must be a part of the gay community. It's like, no, it's just an identifier. It doesn't define who they're interested in. It's how they would be preferred to be identified or referred to at the most. But they do a good job of like, hey, this is who I am. It's like, oh, so this is who I am. So what you see is what you get. Yes. But for a lot of people, because of how we've been raised, we always want to take it a step further, and it's like, nah, how about we just stay at the step that they gave us? Yeah, it's a good place. It's a good starter kit.
That's why I love helping the LGBTQIAGNC community, because like you said, they can teach us so much about just like breaking down those isms, like, and I think that's what Black community, what we need to do is like break down all of that stuff, because it's not us. Like, I used to have these conversations all the time with like my friends who are in politics. We did a lot better when we weren't integrated, you know, when we took care of our own, when the Oklahoma, the Tulsa, you know, Black Wall Street, like I think we did so much better when we didn't want to be like somebody else. And I think right now in a world of social media and everything else, like we don't even know our own identities. We want to be like everyone else so bad that it's like, no, take time for yourself and embrace you. And be you, whoever you are, and don't, like, even the whole discussion about bonnets and stuff, and I'm just like, why do we care? Like, let them do them. Like, if that's your comfortability, then that's it.
And but it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
I will stay here, together with you.
Like, let them do them. Like, if that's your comfortability, then that's it.
Yeah. If she want to bonnet or he wants to bonnet, let it bonnet.
But it wouldn't
or
be
do-rag,
that big
bonnet,
of a deal
hair wrap, whatever you want to do.
Black women weren't the bonnet wearers. Like, so this isn't a thing like, oh, it's a scarf, don't wear a scarf in public, because everyone wears
Or a do-rag, like I wear my do-rag outside sometimes.
This is like a Black woman's thing. So
right.
You're saying, okay, so this thing I used to protect my hair is now looked at as unkept, or
right,
whatever.
Not
And even as far as to say like not to wear it on planes, that really doesn't make sense, because like I'm going to sleep. Like, why would I not want? Why I wear my most comfortable, crazy looking stuff. Like when I'm on the plane, you're gonna see me in a do-rag. You will see me in a hoodie, some big fat sweatpants that are very comfortable with some slides with the socks. That's what you'll see me in every time.
It's your cozy fit.
If you decide to want to be the paparazzi and want to take a picture of me, I know how I dress in the airport. I don't care.
This flight, is it a 1 hour
even
flight?
if it's
Is it a 3 hour flight?
It doesn't matter how long it is.
Because I'll be honest, like I'm going on a flight literally after this, and and I'm going just like this, right? You know, and I do want to be nice, but there are times like if I'm going to California and it's that 5-hour overnight flight, baby, I'm going to sleep. And you better hope that I might not take the scarf off my head, but I might cover it up with a sweater or something, but I'm going to sleep. I'm sorry.
But also the point is that you go to the airport just like this and you look wonderful, right? And then you look at everybody in sweatpants and you mind your business. And
and that's the difference, right?
That's the difference. So it's really about that.
to build off of Crystal's point in terms of being unkept, I think it's important to have certain days that you're just unkept and you don't care whether you go outside
Sunday.
or inside.
Sunday, I don't even take showers. I'm being honest with y'all. Like, I might not brush my teeth or take a shower today because this is a day where I could just lay. I don't want to do anything. Like, that is like my self-care. Yeah, in my natural state.
Yeah, and that's so important. That's so important. I like that we all just had this moment.
Right.
Let's get in my chest. I gotta chill. So, like, for example, I purposely don't get my hair done for a full week after getting it done because it's like, nah, you have to have a week of like, okay, this is the length, this is who we are. Let's get accustomed to this before like moving on to something different. And that's so important because I have this philosophy that every day you wake up, you're a different person. So do you ever sit down within the first 5 to 10 minutes and say, okay, who are we gonna be today, and are we ready for that person?
You should be. You should be doing that.
Yeah.
Spend minutes with yourself. Honestly, I'm telling y'all, that art of communication gonna change your life. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it. And he literally says that. He says, every day, give yourself grace in the morning, right? Don't get on your phone. Don't do anything. Just sit and meditate. And I'll be honest, like I probably meditated for like a whole hour before getting dressed because I need to sit with myself to understand like my emotions, what I put in my body last night. Like, I know we talked about food earlier, but like I eat for nutrition, not for taste. And I need to be mindful of everything that I put. Like, we got chemicals, you got everything else. Like, I just went through a whole chemical burn. So like, I am very mindful.
What's a chemical burn?
I went to an esthetician and we were doing like chemical pills and trying to help with hyperpigmentation, and the chemical was a little too much for me, and so it burnt my skin, and I had cuts and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I recently had that happen too.
Yeah.
I tried a new soap that I never had used before, and I wasn't really looking at all the ingredients in it, and it had sulfur in it, and it was really intense.
And sulfur is supposed to be kind of good for
I love sulfur,
meat.
but it works for meat.
Right.
It doesn't work for everything.
Right.
It did not work.
See, when we talk about chemicals and things, we don't, because I had to go to a wedding, and you know we had the little cut dresses, so I had to use a boob tape, and I got burned by the boob tape. Now, I have no idea what was in it or any of that, but that. Yes, so something in the adhesive was, damaging to my skin. So when talking about effects of products, we have to go all in. Like, it could be anything from the soap you're using to a chemical to just some random product you need to satisfy your outfit.
Right.
Okay, so what would you say your mantra is for the work that you guys do separately? Like, what's everyone's mantra in the room? Let's start with Kristen. We got some good mantras. We had some good
I
talks.
have so many mantras. Where to start? So my business is called New Samo Art and Gifts, and I do paint parties, I do murals, I do yoga parties, I do yoga mentoring, and a bunch of different stuff. And my mantra is always, we can fix it. Whatever it is, we can fix it. If you don't like that move, don't do it. If we can get to the move, or we can fix it so eventually you'll find some moves that you like, or if we're doing art, that's okay, we'll fix it. If you don't like what you made right now, I understand. We're gonna get it to what's in your head. And that's I've so far been able to fulfill this mantra, and it makes me very happy to do so.
Okay.
I feel your happiness.
Every time she talks about it.
Yeah, like feel you beaming.
I love mantra.
Crystal?
My mantra is always meet yourself in the middle.
Okay.
We always want to be a peer because we were just raised to be the best. If you can be the best, be the best. But sometimes the best may not be how you're feeling. And it's okay to be there. And sometimes you just want to lay. And it's okay to be there. So just always acknowledge yourself for the highs and the lows and meet yourself in the middle.
Okay, Christian.
I love this all. Okay. Mine is all about, say it all the time, give yourself some grace.
Okay.
Do it with grace.
When you say grace, define grace. Like, what does grace look like for you?
So I think that like Krista was just saying, like, we're really hard on ourselves, right? I think that, like you said, like, you're always answering your phone. I think that comes with like these expectations in life that you have to fix it. You have to do this. You have to do that. And for me, it's just like, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some room, a space to just like be and be whatever you need to be. Give yourself some time to just like apologize and forgive and be kind to yourself. So I'm like, I know I am really hard on myself of like, you got to get this done, you know, like you got to be the best at whatever. And for me, it's just like, no, I don't. I just need to be me and operate in this space, whatever it is, and that's okay.
Okay, Ice.
So for anybody who knows me really well, I really like Tupac a lot.
Okay.
And so one of my favorite quotes from Tupac has always been, "For every dark night, there's a brighter day." So that really became like one of my favorite quotes when I was younger, and I really just keep that in my mind like throughout life, because like especially over this last year, like this pandemic has had people go through things where like they probably never imagined before.
Yeah.
And I know that it's definitely taken a toll on a lot of people's mental health, and you just have to really intentionally remind yourself that like it doesn't matter like how low or bad things seem, like it's not gonna be the end of the world. Like it's gonna be okay. Like you might have to stick some things out for a second, but you're gonna be okay. Like
Yep.
That's a beautiful mantra.
I love everything.
Okay, shout out to Ice. How would you say the Black community has affected your philosophy in terms of how you cater to the community?
I'll say that the Black community has.
Everyone's like,
Came in heavy.
Right. So I grew up in California where it was a lot of gang violence. We got the Tupac culture. We got all of that. And I just think that like the Black community to me has made me who I am, although it has caused me a lot of pain. Made me like question like, why the hell do I want to be in this community? But I also feel like the Black community has accepted me in so many ways and allowed me to be me. I think that like there's a lot of negative that we can say, but there's so much positive. Like I love getting on Twitter and just going through and reading the feed and just watching like our people like have these conversations, like whether you talking about investing, buying homes, or doing self-care, or what luxury means for a Black person. Those conversations to me are like, this is what we're talking about. This is what our ancestors wanted from us. This is what our ancestors meant when they said we're fighting for freedom, because freedom for the Black community is like doing what you want. When you get into these spaces, like even like my workspace, we're doing like these anti-racist training, and you have Black people speaking up, and you will find that there are so many Black people who have the same mindset. Like just sitting here right now, I'm like, I don't know you guys, we never met, but you can tell their synergy, right? But if you go into any space with any person, Black people specifically, like you can find synergy. And I love that Black people are trying to be like, are embracing being nerds and like, like we like anime, we like this, because we do. We're so talented and fat. Like that is what like makes me excited about the Black community. It makes me want to do this work, because for me it's like, be who you want to be. Don't let anybody put a label on you, make you define you. You define whatever it is. Like I even hate the English, and I remember there was a writer who actually wrote everything in lowercase. And when I saw that, I said, why the hell do I gotta use commas and semicolons and periods and capitalized things? Nope, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. Because for me, it's just like, don't restrict me and don't restrict us. Like we should be who we wanna be.
Yeah. Okay. That was beautiful.
it was. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just gonna ask her for a redo of the question. A lesson, and I fell into her.
How has the Black community affected your mantra?
Yeah.
And then how do you apply that to like how you cater to them? That's
You were speaking to growing up in California, and so I grew up in Arlington, Virginia, which is right over the bridge, and I grew up with mostly white people. And I was one of the only black people in most spaces for a long time. And then I went to Catholic University, and I was still one of the only black people, even though there were more than I had ever had before. It was like 40. And I was like, and before me, it was like 25.
Yeah.
So my year was 40, and we were doing it big.
That was a high number.
We were so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are all.
Yeah.
5.2% of the population was black, and I was the 0.2.
Yeah.
So I'll take that.
But it was exciting, and it wasn't until then that I really started fighting to be in more spaces with people that looked like me. So my freshman year, and Jesus is a sophomore, and I go to his room and I say, "Look, I'm transferring to Howard University. I gotta get out of here."
We was on the same page. I was like, you.
He says, "I've been here a year and some change, and I'm over it. It's all too much." And so all that being said is, when I finally got the chance, I really wanted to put myself in more of those spaces. So when I started teaching in overseas, and then I came right back to Virginia, and they didn't look like me. So I immediately went to Washington, D.C. And I said, I want to teach in Ward 7 and Ward 8. I want to teach to the children that look like me. Even though I don't speak like them all the time, and we did not come from the same struggle or the same situation, I still feel like I can relate to them on a certain level, and I have. And I really loved forcing myself into a community that matches me.
Yeah.
So,
And you've wanted better for them.
and I only want better for us.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when I go to those job interviews, they don't care if I'm from Arlington, Virginia. They see this. And I still get the same stuff.
Take your time. Take your
I was
time.
about to cuss. I still get a lot of the same issues when it comes to being in spaces that are not meant for me. And I don't have to get any deeper than that. Everybody knows what it looks like to be in a space that's not there, that's not meant for you, and to only have a surface level, have someone look at you surface level, like you could not be capable of anything more. So I like to insert myself in the black community even deeper. Ingrain myself.
Well, I'm so happy that you're a teacher, because we always talk about like Teach for America and how that hurt the black community, right? And so for you to like teach and want to go into those communities and do yoga and art, like to people who may not, like, that's foreign to them, to like, that is beautiful. And
Exposure.
Yeah.
A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here together with you. A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure. And so many of our students don't have that exposure. And one of my first schools, the first school I ever went to in Washington, D.C., the teachers came from Teach for America. And the demographics of those teachers were not Washington, D.C. area.
Right.
And their race was not black. And the student population was 98% black, 100% disadvantaged. And literally teachers walked out. October, September, we're walking out of the building saying, I can't do this, right? Because there was no emotional connection to these kids, to this situation, to the school at all, and some other things.
And they were, I mean, I think that, like, because of, you know, our historic history of America, is like, you don't even think, like you said, you don't even think that these black children could be great. So you're trying to teach them at this level, and a lot of them, right? And a lot of them are like, no, I'm here. And if you push me to get here, I can show you I'm actually here, right? You know? So it's like, that's why I love, like, even your mantra of like, I can fix it. It's like, I can see you going into the school like, I'm gonna fix this, and that's what I love.
I'm completely opposite of both of you.
Okay.
So I was born here, I grew up here. My majority has been all black everything. So I've
Privileged.
always been motivated by black teachers and had I went to HBCU, I had black professors. So it wasn't until after college that I realized where I was. And it was like, because I was a math major too. And it's like, oh, Crystal Price, math major. Yeah, come in for this position. And you walk in and they're like, oh, you're Crystal. It's like, yes, I am. You know? And that is where I learned that the world expects so much more from us
Yeah.
than anyone else. Like, there's no room for error. And I didn't understand that when I was coming up in school, and they were like, no, you have to be better. You know, that's where my mantra came from. Like, sometimes this is okay. Because it's like, we always have to do 180% in order to be just in a room. And it promotes a great work ethic, but it also places a lot of stress on yourself and what you're doing and whom you're doing it with. So that's why I find it important to just insert this piece of healing into the community. Like, you can go to a therapist, but you can start by yourself. You can start lying on your mat. You can start with those sacred hours in the morning to just lay and be and sort things out before you get into your day. So I love instilling that. I love that children see me. So my nieces, my nephews, their friends are like, we do yoga, and they're like standing on their heads, and I'm like, yeah, you know. And it was so funny. One of my clients' son, I think he's about 4 or 5, and he's like, I know yoga, and he sat in lotus, and he's like, and I'm like, yes, and he's like, I'm centering myself. I'm like, yes, King, center yourself. So I love that this is trickling down to the baby so that they can come up with it and share it with whom they need to share it with, because so many of us did not have that.
And it's just that emotional regulation. Like, you know, you need it. And I think men need it. We all need it, but men need it a lot too, because they're taught to not be as emotional, you know.
And I feel like black men feel so unseen and unheard all the time that it is imperative that you at least find it within yourself, because so many of you feel like you won't find it anywhere else. Even, I mean, there are places where it may be, but, you know, you may not feel that, you may not receive it.
Right.
So it's just important to have it within you so that when you are ready to receive it, it's already open.
Right.
Yeah, I was raised that way, so I definitely get where you're coming from.
Same.
But I speak on it.
Yes,
Come on,
I
Trace.
just open it up.
Yeah, so I guess you could say I was lucky enough to be raised in Southeast DC my whole life. So
About that experience.
so I guess I picked up a lot more of a dual personality than some other people, because even though I lived in Southeast, I went to schools like everywhere. Like, I've been to schools like all over DC. So I went to schools in Northwest, I've been to schools in Northeast, been to schools in Southeast, like, been all over the place. And so with that, you kind of get kind of like two perspectives. Like, I definitely remember, like, when I was in high school, it's like, okay, I started off at School Without Walls up in Northwest. So you
I like that school.
That school actually did not like me, but that was the academic programs of it were very good. But outside of that, it didn't really help me as a person. Like, I just know that when I went up to Walls around GW, like, it's a whole different space, and like, you're not worried about really anything other than academics and things like that. And it's hard to relate to some of your other peers because they come from like mostly like more affluent families and neighborhoods and things like that. And it's hard to kind of find your space, because then you're like, okay, like, I'm from Southeast, but I kind of like comics a little bit and stuff like that. So, like, am I like a nerd, or like, do I like, am I black enough to hang out with the black people, but am I too black to be with the white people? And it's like, it's just weird finding yourself in that. And then you remember at the end of the day, every day after school, you still have to get on the train and go back to where you actually live at. You have to stand at the bus stop over there, and then when you stand at the bus stop, you have to be in a totally different mode than you were all day at school, because it's like, okay, now I'm off of academics, and now I'm like, I gotta make it home. So
That's an experience in itself.
yeah.
Going from surviving to thriving, or thriving to surviving.
So it was an odd experience, but I think it definitely helped make me more of a balanced person, because I got to see a lot of different perspectives.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Where did you learn to code switch? Did you learn in high school or did you learn earlier? Because you said that you had a duality, but I learned to code switch early. So
I think
I learned it later.
I think around like 14 is when I really consciously was understanding it.
So high school.
Yeah,
Right, or right before high
because
school.
I just wasn't really as aware or really paying attention to the things that were really going on around me until then. Like, I just was really in my own world. Like, just was a kid. Like, I want to play video games and stuff like that. But then when you get older, you realize, all right, I'm standing at this bus stop. You can't be playing your Game Boy and stuff like that at the bus stop, because somebody's going to come and take your Game Boy. Like, somebody's going to come and take your Game Boy. So then it's like, you have to learn through experiences like that. Like, all right, I was playing my game and stuff like that on the bus. Then you realize, like, okay, like, it's other people on the bus who, they don't have this at home. So it's like, they see that you have it, so they might try and take that from you. So then you're like, okay, so I have to learn that I can't take things out everywhere. And then if you do, then you have to be very aware of your surroundings and things like that. Everything. You can't just be in your own world all the time, like, everywhere. You gotta pay attention to your surroundings and things like that. Otherwise, bad things can happen to you. And then I think at 14, that's really when I started to really realize that, because I didn't really understand the concept. Like, I knew, but I had never really processed the thoughts, if that makes sense. Like,
That makes sense.
I had like traumatic experiences like when I was younger, but I just never really thought about them until I really got older, because like I never really discussed it with my parents or my mom or anything like that. So it's kind of like that was a portion that I felt like I had to grow through myself, which I guess all helped make me
well-rounded person.
like a really well-rounded person.
That's real. I like this conversation because going into Get Home Safe, Mental Health Monday, and all the work we've done, especially for this year, I wanted to bring the wellness community together with the mental health community and how important that is. Because it's like, I can't tell someone go and get therapy from a therapist and they come home and it's like there's dishes. What does the air smell like? What's their self-care routine like? Because it's like, so get help, but go back to the place that's not helping. Don't tell them how to change their surroundings and how important that is, or the people around them. Would you guys be able to like speak on how important the people behind the scenes are to the work that you do, in terms of who supports you, who you have a conversation with, who you even sometimes bounce ideas off of, and how important that is for your work and your wellness? I know that was a lot, but it's like,
That's your support system.
It's almost all of my work, honestly.
Right.
How I even got into lifted classes was there was this professional black women's cannabis group. And they were like, hey, you know, we're kind of connoisseurs. This is what we enjoy. This is what we do. Would you mind doing a yoga class for us? Because I just think that would be amazing. And I went into this totally blind, like, oh, okay, so I have to do this with other people, like, you know. So I developed what I thought was a safe class to introduce to, because a lot of them had never done yoga before. And those students began to become regulars.
Okay.
And then my friends would see it like, oh, that's cool. So then they come, and now they're regulars, and now their friends are regulars. So it just all, and I didn't have much advertising. I think I did it on like Instagram. And from there, it was even to you. I think my roommate knew you from elsewhere, and she saw him in the video. She's like, "Oh, that's my friend." I know that. And I was like, "Oh, that's great." So
Small world.
Yeah, the way it all intertwines, and people of like mentalities, the way that they just speak to each other and they share, and it comes back to me full circle, because now, from those lifted classes, I see what people seek from my classes, what they may be looking for in a yoga class, and I'm able to apply that through all other areas, in perinatal and in vinyasa and at the park. And it came to a point where a lot of the students didn't even want the lifted anymore. They're like, oh, I'm just here for class, I'll take this with me, and I'm like, oh, okay, great, have fun at home. So I just like that it introduces so many techniques and practices to people who don't want to go to a packed studio with people who don't look like them, or who may be afraid to practice in public just yet.
Yes.
So I just love that the community opens that door for me in more ways than one.
Okay, so the community is very powerful to your life.
Definitely, yeah. Because it feeds me, and it gives me what I need to feed the community. Because if you tell me what you need, I can, at least give you a technique to reach it, or to lessen it, or whatever the case may be. Otherwise, I'm just going out blind, shelling out what I need, and that's not going to help you much.
What's funny about what you just said is the work that I do right now, especially those shorts that you guys have seen, one of my philosophies, Kristen's heard me say this, if you give them what they want before they ask for it, they'll never ever doubt you, and they'll always believe in whatever you do next, because they know he's given it to us before we ever asked.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so intent on like, okay, I need to learn more. How do I present it?
It's so amazing.
How do I make it digestible? Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a lot of work, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm all about the community. Like I am really like in the community. I was just talking to a friend, and she's like, "You do so much community work." But I think that you can't be a person or a human without like serving the community. I think Shirley Chisholm said it better than I just did, but she definitely said like, service is like the rent you pay for living on earth. And I think that like you have to know what the community wants. I think that's customer service, kind of what you were saying, right? Like you have to know what the community wants in order to like give them what they want. And I, like you're saying, is like doing the research and understanding people, which is why I went into psychology, is because you have to. If you don't understand the people, how do you really serve them or provide a good service?
A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here, together with you. A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here.
Which is why I went into psychology, is because you have to. If you don't understand the people, how do you really serve them or provide a good service to them? You're leading blindly into this. And I also think that a lot of people don't want to be told what to do. They want to feel a part of this, right? And so like how you were saying, you don't even like market, like there's no website you can go to, not yet. But I don't really post on Instagram about it. I don't really do much. I don't market. A lot of my clients really just come to me organically. Word of mouth, or if like a client that I have, they'll refer their friends. They'll find me on like the insurance companies like website if I'm credentialed with them, and then they'll just reach out. And I literally serve everyone. Like I am very much so for the Black community, but I think that like we're all human and we're all here, and if we don't address everyone, there's no way that we can operate in this world where there's probably 1 degree of separation. So I have Jewish clients, I have Indian clients, I literally serve a diverse group of individuals, and I appreciate it because I learned that we are way more connected than we are divided. But there was a divisive plan for us to feel that way. So yeah.
And also, I've seen you work rooms. So, like, we did an all-women's event last year over at Tall Boys.
Yeah.
And in that all-women's space, I saw you come in and you talked to every single person who was there. And I think at that time we had about a little bit under 24 people in the room. And you made it a point to talk to them, introduce yourself, let them know what it is that you do. I saw you crack a couple of jokes. And I thought to myself, I was like, it's funny that she came in for a half hour to 50 minutes. And within 10 minutes, you worked the whole room, and they knew who you were. And I saw a couple of people come and talk to you, and that let me know, okay, so she's not just about community, she's about who are you outside of what I can just give you.
Oh, of course. To be honest with you, like, I love therapy for sure. I do, and I want to go full time because I only operate part time right now. But more than anything, I want to serve the community. I want to change the community, and I want to amplify and uplift the community, and that's whatever we do. Like, I'm in Southeast all the time. I worked with Ward 8 and Ward 7 the most. And even when I came to DC, I remember I used to work with youth back home, but I got hired by DYRS, the Youth Detention Center here. And
I did a class with them.
so they are so amazing. But I couldn't work there I couldn't stay there. I only stayed there a month and a half, and it was because I did not know the lingo. I didn't know the language of the people. And so I said, I can't do this. I'm going to go be a case manager in a community first, and then I'm going to learn the community. I drove around DC for about 3 years, learning the resources, the places, everything else. And then I went back and worked at Sasha Bruce working for the youth. Because to me, in order for you to get to the youth, you got to know how they talk. So Jod, like, Mo, all of that, like, I'm willing to say it. I'm willing to go for it because I know that's how I reach you. And I need to meet you where you are in order to speak your language. So, like, we talked about code switching. I'm going to stop talking. We talked about code switching, but I really don't even think I code switch at all. I think that I'm going to always be me. I have a hard time because I work in a leadership position. I have a hard time adapting to their ways, because I don't think I need to code switch for what? My name, this is who I am. This is what you get. I'm smart. I can do it. What else do I need to do?
This is the package. Yeah.
And if you don't accept that, then sorry for you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else's? Oh yeah, no, it's you. It's you, girl. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so can we say the question one more time?
Yeah.
Just so I can make sure I answer the whole thing.
So I was talking about how important it is to bring the wellness community to the mental health community, and that's what I'm really looking forward to doing this year. That was actually one of the inspirations behind this kind of panel for the first one that we're doing. And in terms of the work that you do, how important, let me change it a little bit for you because your dynamic is different. How important would you say mental health is to the craft that you do? And how has wellness within this particular era of COVID, everything being shut down, how has that played into the work that you do? Because you've talked about mental health like 3 times. I hear you reference it. On the phone, you'll reference mental health, you'll reference wellness. And I just want to hear your perspective, because I could tell it's something that you think about in your free time also.
Yeah, so mental health is very important, and it ties in more to your everyday life than I think a lot of people realize. Like, some days you'll wake up and you'll feel like a burst of energy, and you just feel like you can do everything today. And then some days you wake up and then you're like, I don't want to do anything. Like, and you're just like, I wonder why some days I feel good and other days I feel like I just don't want to do anything or be anywhere or be around anybody.
Yeah.
And then when you really step back and look at it and think about it on the days when you're not feeling the best, like you're like, okay, something with work this week or something with family, something relationship, friendship wise, something threw off my mojo a little bit, and I haven't taken a second to really mentally address it and really think about it and process my feelings on how I really felt about that. Yeah. So now my mind is just like stuck, like, no, just sit here like and be sad and mopey and depressed. And I do think that that is how a lot of people end up being in long states of depression, is by not really trying to get to the root cause of what's making them feel like that. And I think that once you're able to get to the root cause of it every time, you can start to think of ways to get yourself out of like that slump that you're in. And
Did I just hear a finger snap?
Coping mechanisms. That's what it is.
so I think, like for myself personally, one of the things that helps me mentally also helps me like physically, is I just like to exercise. Like I really like to exercise. Like that's something that like if I am stressed out or I have a lot on my mind, like exercise, and I just feel better like after. I don't even know how to explain it, but that's just what works really well for me. And I swim a lot. I haven't in recent times, but I think it's honestly been like maybe a year and a half or so.
Speedo or compression shorts?
I am a fan of
Really?
compression.
Y'all make me so happy.
Yeah, I actually
very recent photos on my side. Yes.
very not known secret-ish thing. I actually almost went to Howard for a swim scholarship, but at the time that I was applying, the swim coach had gotten fired at literally the same time. So like he had scheduled me to come in and everything just fell apart. Like,
Nice.
he got fired, and then like I just keep on sending letters and emails, and then like nobody's getting back, and they're like, I don't know when we're gonna have somebody replace him, so I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, can't afford Howard on the regular budget. That was that.
It is. That is awful.
Yeah, so yeah, and I think that's another thing that the Black community needs more of is swimming. But that's
Yes.
Speak on it. Speak
Yes.
on it. Why do you think the Black community needs more swimming?
well, because
in what way?
me personally,
Mhm.
it helped me so much when I was young because I learned how to swim when I was 13. And then by 15, I was a lifeguard with DC Department Parks and Rec. And like when you're 15, making like Parks and Rec to pay you nice. Like, I'll tell you that DC government will pay you nice.
Right.
So yeah, I was probably like 15, getting like every 2 weeks, like probably like $1,000 checks like during the summer, and I'm just like,
At 15.
this the whole
That's like almost $1 million for you.
I'm rich. I was rich.
Right.
I could go into H&M and not care about anything. Put it all on the counter, like. Yeah, like I had my monthly Smart Pass back then, so it's like I'm not really paying to get anywhere.
He was living his best life.
Broke who? Like I'm going to the deli before school in the morning. I'm living life. Yeah, I was living life, and then I just know that helped me personally because like growing up in Southeast, like you see all types of different people, and some of them are good role models and some of them aren't. And it definitely took away from the allure of wanting to do certain things that like some of your other friends would be doing to get money because you're like, I gotta work. Yeah, I get up and I go to work, and I think I make more money going to work than y'all probably do doing what y'all are doing. But you know, to each their own. You know, we're all trying to figure this life thing out. You know, I'm not judging you.
Would you say it was a blessing that you were in this position to choose?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Because I think a lot of people forget that like everybody doesn't have the same choices
At
all, and it's really unfortunate because it's easy to look from the outside in and then just make a judgment, and it's really when you really interact with people more, like you really start to understand like why people are certain ways that they are. Like even like this last year, like I think almost across America, like crime has like skyrocketed, and everyone's like, oh, what's going on, and I'm like, it's not rocket science. Like people are losing jobs, which means people who already were having hard times just got harder. The kids are unstructured really for like the last year, and I'm not putting any blame on any teachers or anything like that or any parents. But it's just everybody was just thrown into kind of like a limbo of figure this out. Like, we don't have a guidebook for you, but figure it out. Like, and even like seeing like my own niece, like she just is not interested in the whole virtual learning thing. She's very disengaged and is very not like her, and that seems to just be a thing that's happening. And it's just like kids are trying to figure out how to be kids, and it's just a lot for everybody, and like times are getting harder financially for people and things like that. So
That's why you come to therapy, and I can help you figure that out.
that's why you go to therapy. You do things like yoga. You know, you create.
That's why it's important.
A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here, together with you. A faint clap of thunder. Even if rain comes not, I will stay here.
And I'm gonna eat like I'm gonna get steak and cheese.
Lido.
I'm not thinking about being healthy. I'm not thinking about
That's so
yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, like what I want to do in this day is whatever's gonna make me happy. Whether that's these Doritos and this cream cheese or this face
Yes.
mask, I'm gonna be happy at the end of the day, because we are so busy, and I find myself compartmentalizing. Like, there'll be a death of a friend or a family member, and I can't even grieve about this until 3 days later, because that's when I have time. That's when I don't have to work. That's when I don't have to write this thing. That's when I don't have to talk to this person or do this interview. And now 3 days later, I am a ball of fire because I haven't even made time to release it when I should have said, this interview has to wait right now. I'm sorry, I'll get back to it at another time while I deal with this, you know. So it's that spiritual growth is what is pushing me to not hold these feelings off until I have time. But to deal with it right now before you move forward, so that you're not unknowingly carrying it with you throughout your week or your day or your life.
That was beautiful. Yeah, who's next on that one?
I know. I was going to say, I'm a little different because my name is Christian, and I was named this for a reason. My family is very spiritual. They are all Christians. I went to church pretty much every Sunday. Even if my mom was at work, the pastor came and picked me up. I was in the choir. I was very much like that girl. I was probably like 8 years old, telling the pastor, preacher. Like, I was that person. I read the Bible, but as I grew and learned psychology and really went into becoming a therapist, my master's program, life in general, but my master's program pushed us to engage into a different practice. So I did yoga for a month, and then I went to a mosque and interviewed different Islamic cultures and like Muslims and things like that. And so it has opened me up. And then I thought about like the LGBTQ community and how, you know, Christianity would tell them that they're wrong, you know, and so it has made me evolve from being just a Christian to now I identify as an omnist, where I practice all religions.
Congrats, this past season.
Right, I observed Ramadan, and I did the whole 30 days, and it was very much life-changing. But for me, spirituality, and even like growing up in a church, I remember when I lived in Atlanta, because I was going to Clark Atlanta University, I used to go to a church, Elizabeth Baptist Church, I think it's called, and the pastor, they used to sing this song that said, like, God is in you. And for me, it wakened me up to say, like, your core, your soul, your chakras, your alignment, that is your God. That is your higher being, your spiritual self. And as long as you continue to feed that and motivate it and nurture it, you can continue to be and operate in your higher self. So I'm really about like energy and vibes and things like that. And so I feel like that's how I can go into a room and connect with people in 30 minutes, because I'm feeding off of you and I'm also feeding off of my spiritual guides. I even get like ancestral readings. Shout out to my tarot card reader. I love her to death. I go like once a quarter. But I just think that you have to practice so many things to keep you in alignment with self. And whatever you gravitate to, that's your self-care and that's your spiritual being. But I think we're all spiritual humans. Like, I love Namaste, but, I recognize the light in you, the light in me. And so just be light.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Like I said before, I'm very Catholic, and I grew up in Catholic church, and I went to Catholic school, and then I went to Catholic university, and then my master's is at a Catholic program, and I just like kept that consistent in my life. But I always stuck to something that a teacher told me, which is we all think we're right. And one of us is just the best. One of us is just the most correct. Yeah. And we think we're the most correct. And that's where I was like, well, wait a minute, who's we? So within having the art and yoga business, just appreciating that I do very much like the structure of my faith and my religion. But I so much appreciate what everybody else is doing and what they believe and what they think, and I want to absorb and learn more. And because I have my firm foundation, I can say, well, that's actually really interesting. Please tell me more, and just sit and absorb and not talk and not fight and not try to impose any of my own ideas. And doing yoga, learning more about how to interact with people. You are supposed to just receive them and let them tell you their ideas, and then maybe you think of something a little quirky that's a connection, but then you keep going and just allow them to be. So that is how my spiritual journey has been within the last 2 years, appreciating who I am and knowing what I believe and knowing that that's my path, and loving me for it, and then just saying, what is everybody else doing? Like, what do you guys got going on? That's good, that's cool, and continuing like that. So when you say that word, omnis, so of course I know what omniscient means, so I'm just guessing, like, oh, that just means that she puts her hand in everything. And I'm like, what? You can do that? Yeah. That's so cool. Tell me, and that's right. That's what I like.
So you guys are gonna exchange numbers.
I know. Yeah, I think we've already followed everybody on Instagram. I think so.
Yeah. About this omnis thing. I feel like that's a part of what I've been doing. I just had no idea.
Yeah. So listen, it was the same way. Like my homeboy, who actually got me into doing Ramadan. He actually told me the wrong. He's like, Christian, I think you're really an omnis. I was like, omnis? Let me Google this thing. And I Googled it and I was like, oh, I am. Yeah. I said, okay, well, damn, I might need to change my first name. No. But no, it is very life-changing. And I always was really big. Like, I've been to a Catholic church before. And I love Catholic church because you get it in and out.
It's an hour. It's 59 minutes.
59, literally. The songs ain't even that long, right? Okay. But I always felt like, like how you said about, everybody is right, but somebody is just like better or best. I honestly just think that like we're all praying to the same God, y'all. Like we all are. It's just a different path. Like we're taking different vehicles to get there. But it's this higher being, which is the universe.
It's the being and the rules that get people a little confused, right? So what I like to say is, well, are you trying to be a good person? And that's just really what it is. Well, how are you trying to improve yourself? How are you trying to be a good person? And my religion, as flawed as it is, the initial goal was to be a good person. So if I try to stick to that and then continuing to learn, well, what are you doing to try and be a good person? Are you an omnis? Well, what does that mean?
Right.
And loving that you have this different way, and now I'm going to take some of what you do.
Exactly.
And that's great. That's life. And I'm a big fan.
And
Me too.
I never felt pinned to a religion. So I've always kind of felt, like you said, like that light in us is our higher power, is the being. And that's why we're all able to connect with a higher power and or a higher being. And it can be different people in the same realm. One of my best friends is a minister, and I asked her one day, I was like, do you think everyone's God's the same? She's like, girl, no. And I mean, she's high in her faith, you know, and she still recognizes that my God is not your God, and your God is not the same as your God. Do you even believe in God? But we can all have that higher power that we can connect to that will give us that place of peace and create that space that we need within ourselves.
Okay, Ice, this is you, man. This you right here.
Male perspective.
Okay, so I would say over the last few years, I would say that I've been a spiritual person, but I became more okay with asking questions like a few years ago. Like, what do I really think? Like, what are like really my thoughts on things? Like, not just this is what I got told, so this is what I believe, but really just doing my own research to figure out like what it is that I really think or believe. I don't know, like these last few years have been definitely probably like the last 3 years, pretty big spiritual journey. Like my dad passed away 2 years ago, so having to get through that, like that's when I think I really was asking questions like what do I really feel, like what do I really think, and like is it okay to be mad at God, like, and like figuring out like yeah, it is okay, like life is just a big process of trying to figure out who you really are, and through that you have to ask questions, and that's kind of at the stage where I've been at for the last couple of years. It's just like figuring things out. Like
That's real.
Yeah.
I've been mad at God before too, and I have no issue with saying that out loud. I think a lot of people, we've been raised to say you are not allowed to be this, you are not allowed to be that, and then you think about it, it's like, who the hell are you to tell me how to go through my experience?
Exactly.
Like, I'm here right now. You're not. I'm figuring this out. So, like, when I want to no longer be mad at him, I'll get there. And then after you get there, who you become and how you make your decisions is so important. Because, like, then I start asking wild things like, I think I said it to you last week when we met up. I was like, when's the last time we asked God if he needed something? You feel me? Like, we always want to take, but when it was like, hey, is there something I can do?
You gotta
for you?
just
I know
talk.
you'll be responding to my prayers. Vice versa.
He does.
Outside of just like what's in the book, he does on his own schedule. But
Right.
like, if I asked God what he needed right now, would he answer me immediately? Versus like, yo, I need something from you. It's like, you guys always need something. What about me?
And the craziest thing though is like I love. Sorry, I'm just gonna say I hope you're okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I'm sorry about that for your father. But I do like the fact that you're asking questions, because I was just always taught that like that's how you get higher in the spiritual world, is by asking questions and by being mad and by being angry. Because if you weren't angry, like, are you being human? Like, you know, like so I was gonna say about your gifts, like, you are doing what he wants you to do by doing this, like by bringing people, by using your pain and your hurt and suffering to make it better and to heal yourself. Like, I think that, like, even just watching you and like listening to you, and you talked about how you created the lip balm and like the products, and people just like supported you.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good spirit, right? And you seem like you are very like genuine, and like when you speak, you're thinking and trying to process, and so like I think people gravitate to that because you're walking in your purpose. right? And like you're walking in your purpose. So you get all these people who want to come and say like, sure, we'll do this, we'll do that, because this is all of our purpose. Like we're here doing God's work. And I don't know, I'm sorry. I just like that. That's just like what I feel like we are all doing is like God's work. And when you think about when he say like, you know, doing God's will and things like that, I always like look up to him and I'm like, well, what is your will? And even if we don't get a real answer, it's the fruit that bears, right? And I'm sure you have so many followings and everything. Like I've reached out to you and said, Juice, come on, help me out. Help me get to where I need to be, you know? So like, I think that this is the work and this is the service that you're doing for him.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. But where can everybody find you? It's like 2:10 right now, a little bit over the time. So where can everybody find you on Instagram? We'll start with Ice and work our way over. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We plan on doing self-care packages that I'm going to be sending out in the future for like other people, like a whole rollout of like mental health, GetHomeSafe. We sell self-care packages. And like ironically, it's going to have products from Kristen, products from Ice, product from the young lady in Atlanta that you connected me with this week. You told her, you was like, hey, we should connect. Her and I had a conversation.
Yeah. I know you're talking about.
With the journals and the journals. It is coming. The summer's going to be lit. So, all right, go ahead, guys. Let everybody know where they can find you.
So my Instagram handle is just Isis.